G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Truen. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it.
Welcome everyone. Today I'm interviewing Mikey Moran from Private Label based in Atlanta, Georgia in the United States. Thanks for your time today, Mikey.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Let's start with how we know each other. So Lindsay from Scribe reached out, thought you might be great to come on the podcast because you've just written a book and Scribe helped you write that book.
Yeah, and it's been an amazing process over the last year. The book has just came out. It's phenomenal. I believe I might be,
a little biased,
shooting my horn a little bit, of course, but the reviews have been in there, and we've reached some pretty good metrics for the book already. Pretty quick, pretty much tripled what they wanted to happen in a year. I basically did in the first week.
Wow.
So I would say, that's a pretty good indication that things are going pretty well with the book.
And it's called Fearless Beauty. We'll link through to that in the show notes.
Yes.
Yeah, great. So tell our audience a bit about your business, what it does and how it makes money.
So Private Label, we basically supply, our main products are hair extensions, wigs, lashes. We're getting into cosmetics now. So we have a lot of different divisions. So we have the brand Private Label. We have 4 showrooms here in the United States. We have one in Atlanta, Greenville, South Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, Detroit, Michigan. We're about to open our second in the Atlanta area. And as a matter of fact, this week, I'm going to be signing a lease for a third in the Atlanta area with a 4th planned as well. It's a pretty big market here in Atlanta. Atlanta's kind of like the epicenter of hair, really for the world. So we have a strong presence here. So we're going to, definitely get the supply to our clients. We have some other brands that help with wholesale supply. So we have a Private Label wholesale website. We do drop shipping. So we have the largest hair drop shipping system within the United States. We have the only hair drop shipping apps with Shopify. Then we have another platform that basically works with any type of website and technology. We also have an influencer marketplace called Beauty Clout. We also have a Shopify app for that. So we've invested a lot in technology over the last 7-8 years of being in business. And we've built brands around the needs of our clients and kind of just created its own websites and brands for each specific service. We do a lot of branding for websites, so logo design, packaging, and such. So we have privatelabelbranding.com. We had it all under the Private Label umbrella at one point and then started segmenting it out as it started to become too big for one website. It was just becoming confusing for our users, just getting feedback from our clients. And so, yeah, it's been phenomenal.
Oh, great. And how did you start out?
Started out really small, really broke, and a lot of hard work. So we got started back in 2014. I was working full time, 50 plus hours a week, and we hired employee number 1 back in 2014, employee number 2 back in 2014, employee number 3 was the beginning of 2015. And then I actually was technically employee number 4, 2.5 years later. We wanted to grow the business big enough where I could come off my full-time nice salary and then get onto running the business full-time and really scale it up from there. Yeah. But it's been quite a journey.
And so what was the job you had that you jumped from 2.5 years in?
I was actually in something totally different. I was in the real estate industry. I was there because my first business that I started in 2006, I was in the food industry. If you're a fan of Thai food, I created the first packaged Thai curry sauce to be sold in the United States. I did business out of Thailand. And then we really got hit around 2010 with the financial crisis. Went through some other different businesses that I tried to start during that time. I mean, that business, when it failed, it really crushed me.
Yeah.
I didn't go to school. I didn't go to college. I did horrible in high school. But I can tell you my first business with its success, which it reached a level of success, and then its failure, that's basically was my college education right there.
Yeah.
and probably much better than going to college, I would say. A lot more painful, but it was definitely an educational experience. So it was funny. I wasn't in the beauty industry. I never thought I'd be in the beauty industry, and it just came about. And beauty is a wonderful industry to be in. It's very beautiful.
Yeah. And you were saying, sorry, just going back to Georgia, before we started recording, you said that there's a lot of movie making, filmmaking done there. You think it's like pretty much the biggest area in the world where movies are made now, bigger than Hollywood, definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
And so 2014, when you started the business, you didn't jump in straight away yourself, but how old were you in 2014 when you started the business?
How old was I? I was 30. What was that? About 36, I guess, when I started.
Mm-hmm. And do you have any key numbers to illustrate the growth of the business over those 7 years?
Yeah, I can kind of go over the basics. The first year, we did pretty good. This is basically with zero outside investment for the whole time of the company. We still have never raised money. But our first year we did $250,000 in sales, which we were pretty happy about. I was like, okay, $250,000. This is kind of real. The next year we did about $850,000 in sales. So that was a nice scale up, about 300%. That was 2015. 2016 we did 825,000, or no, 2015 825, 850,000. 2016 we did 1.25 million. So we broke into the seven figures. The next year we did 4.5 million. Then we scaled it up to 7.2 million. And today we're an 8-figure company.
Yep.
During that rise, we did make the Inc. 500, 278 fastest growing companies in America in 2018, and we made 535 on the list in 2019. And that was actually a really good experience because it really solidified the company. It really solidified the growth. In 2018, we went to the conference. So you have like the big gala Inc. magazine puts on, and it was in Texas. So we showed up, and it was funny because when we were there, it actually happened a lot where I'd meet people and they're like, "Oh, what do you do?" I was like, "Oh, I'm in the hair industry." They're like wigs and hair extensions. I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Okay." And I was just like, to ask them what they did. And they're like, "Well, what did you rank?" Because they just weren't interested at all. Because we do a lot more than just sell hair, because we have the technology standpoint or, whole aspect of the business. And they're like, "What did you rank?" And I said 278. And they like take a step forward. I was like, "Tell me a little bit more about what you do."
Yeah.
They were so surprised that
Holy
they were like,
shit.
"Wait a second." Yeah. They're like, "How much money did you raise?" I was like, "Oh no, we didn't raise any money." I was just like, it was literally morning, day, night, hard work every single day for years straight. And that's how we got here.
Yeah, great. Well done. Congratulations. Especially making 8 figures. It's hard enough to reach 7 over $1 million a year, but then getting over $10 million a year in top line, that's a phenomenal achievement, especially within 7 years, going from 0 to over 10 million. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey. That the breaking into 8 figures was very serious. And you have to have a whole shift in your mindset, a whole shift in your business to get to that. We're a completely different company today than we were just a few years ago. And that had to happen to be able to scale up to get into the 8 figures and beyond range.
Yeah. And what about, lastly, on key numbers, a full-time equivalent? So day one, you started with your first external hire. Kind of roughly what FTE would you up to now? People doing 40 hours a week on average?
Right now, so we do have a couple different stores. So we're right about 30 people. We have a pretty lean staff right now, especially due with COVID. We're just really careful about, we're very careful about bringing people on when we don't know the future. I mean, it's actually been a phenomenal year for us. But we're still very careful because I think it's so important when you're bringing someone on, you're also bringing on the importance of their family, and the reliance on this paycheck. So it's very, very important that, if you're going to bring them on, you plan to have this person on long-term. If it was something short-term, we would just do contract work with someone. So we're just very careful about how we bring people on, and we understand that there's people and families relying on this paycheck. So we take that very serious.
Yeah, I find it interesting that you're opening 2 or 3 more stores, in the short term. I'm guessing with COVID, you would have seen a real bump, obviously with all the lockdowns, with the online sales.
Yeah, of course, we're in Atlanta. Atlanta's been wide open for a while. And our client loves, and I mean loves, to come into our showrooms. We have an absolutely beautiful, every showroom is absolutely beautiful. We're really focused on the customer experience. When you walk in the door, you have a very beautiful place you're coming in. The pricing is 30 to 40% less than a normal retail that you would go into this type of store. The customer service is phenomenal at every store. It always will be. So people love to come in and shop with us in the brick and mortar, which is totally opposite of where most businesses are going these days.
Yep.
So our stores do, especially the Atlanta store does, the numbers are incredible within the actual showroom. So we want to have the additional locations in the area because that really helps with the marketing. So like if we did radio ads and you have one location, you're going to get some business from that. But if you have 3 or 4 locations, which are within a 15-minute driving distance to the listener, those radio ads are much more powerful for you.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do is really maximize our client base in the Atlanta area, because I know there's a lot of people that, Atlanta has horrible traffic, so people don't want to drive 45 minutes, an hour to come see us. Although they do, they don't necessarily want to, but if they're in a hurry, they might go to a store that's close to them, that's not as good and more expensive just out of convenience.
And what is the population of Atlanta? It wouldn't even be 500,000, would it?
Oh no, we're at like, they say Atlanta and then you have Atlanta suburbs because it's a very spread out city. I believe we're about we're probably at least 6 million right now.
Oh, really?
It's big. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
It's huge. Yeah, Atlanta's massive and it's growing. I mean, it's unbelievable, the growth here. So it's been growing like crazy over just the last few years, and I really don't see the growth stopping, just because it's still really affordable relative to a lot of other cities in the U.S. Even though the housing market here in the U.S. has just been absolutely nuts as far as growth, but it's been Atlanta's on fire.
Yeah, right. And when was the moment you felt like you'd succeeded?
Moment I felt like I succeeded was, I don't know. I honestly don't feel like I've succeeded yet.
Spoken like a true entrepreneur, Mikey.
Yeah, you reach certain levels of success. I remember when I first got started, I said, if I could sell $1 million a year, I'm like, that's it. I'm done. This is it. $1 million. And then I got to $1 million. So it's like, oh, wow. No, this is not enough. And then we kept, I want 1 store. And then it's like, okay, we have 5. And then I'm telling my staff, oh, we're going to have 20 stores soon. And they're looking at me like 20. I was like, yeah, maybe that is too small. We're thinking too small. How about 50? 50? They're like, what are you talking about? I don't think I'll ever feel comfortable. I'm the kind of person that is going to just keep pushing this, keep turning that dial safely at this point. So I think we're I feel like I'm at a point where the business is very stable. We own our headquarters where we are in Atlanta, so that we've been investing greatly into the business. My business partner, he's funny. He's a silent partner. But he thinks it's kind of like that pond that you can just keep taking water out of and it's never going to end. No, I was like, no. We're not running the business like this. We're going to keep investing in the business, invest in the business. Because that's how it's going to grow. It's like a baby, right? Yeah. If you don't keep feeding your baby's not going to grow. It's the same thing as a business. That's right.
And what does success look like to you?
Not have to worry. Mm-hmm. I've had definitely growing up and from my childhood, and I talk actually a lot about this in my book, and the reason why I started the business and I wanted it to grow so big was so my mom not to have to worry anymore. And just growing up as a kid, we lived in a great area. We lived with my grandmother, and we just never we always barely, and I mean barely, got by. I started working when I was really young to help out, and just never really kind of figured out the financial side of not having to worry about like, oh my gosh, I have to pay my mortgage or my rent or these bills. Really, it's just, to me, it's just not to have to worry or have my family worry anymore about finances.
Yeah. Number one thing you'd recommend to marketing a fast growing business?
Oh, I got lots of marketing.
Hit me
I
up.
can go on. I can go for days about marketing. I think there's a lot of theory behind marketing, where you have to understand that, if you're great at just email marketing, great at just Facebook ads, stuff like that, the overall success of the brand is still reliant on hundreds of data points for it to be really successful, and how all those different data points work together, right? So it first starts off with being on the right platform, and the right technology for your website, and then plugging in all the different key components, and then figuring out how they're going to work together, how to continuously stay in front of your customers. I think Facebook, Instagram ads is definitely for a paid solution, is definitely the most powerful paid solution in the history of marketing.
Yep.
We're going through a lot of changes right now with the iOS updates, with, the security for them and such with Facebook and Instagram, which is kind of a mess, but so we'll see where that leads. I think it's really important for, even if you're going to outsource some of this marketing, I think it's important for you to learn the marketing yourself. Because even when I outsource any type of project, I pretty much have done everything myself.
Yeah.
So there's not going to be somebody that is going to be like, we're going to do this, and they try to make it seem like this big deal. They're going to charge you all this money.
Mm-hmm.
For outsourcing stuff. But I think focusing on doing the free things first, things that take your time and that are free, start with that, and then start working on the paid solutions. This is if you're a new entrepreneur. And if you have your business up and running, man, just, be really creative and retarget the heck out of your customers, so you always stay in front of them. I mean, with the private label brand, people would ask, what's your website? And I'm like, oh God, I don't even want to tell them, because I know they don't buy hair and they're not in our industry. They just want to see what I do, but I'm going to be retarded. They're going to see me forever. I was like, I don't even want you in my audience. So I was like, because they're just going to be, this is crazy. But that really helped us over the years. As far as building a strong brand, people always saw us everywhere. And then, they'd hop on Google, they would see us there, they'd see on YouTube, and then they would see our video on YouTube, and it's just nonstop.
I think it's like 11 touch points people need to see a brand before that really starts to resonate or sink in with them, from what I've heard.
Yeah, I think, back in the day, it was 7. Marketing was the rule of 7.
Yes.
But I think that's changed because we're so inundated with ads. Our attention span is so short. So I now call it the rule of 14. I've doubled it. So you say 11, who knows where it is today? You say 11, I say 14. So if you're listening, you have to think of how are you going to get in front of the customer 14 times before they purchase. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but it is possible. So be creative about how you collect an email address, how you're going to get their text or their phone number so you can send text notifications, and be careful about what you're sending. Do not always say, oh, here's 10% off, here's $10 off. Provide value to your clients first. Too many times people are I see it all the time, people are going for that hard sale right away, when the client really you need to warm the client up. Have some blog posts that explain your business or how to use your products. These are key things that people just forget. You go to their website and it's all buy, 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 buy. Nobody likes to be sold.
No. And funding the business. So you've got a silent business partner, any other investors or bank finance or government grants or anything like that?
Zero. We really started this from scratch. As far as financing goes now, with some of our main suppliers, we've actually built such great relationships, especially based out of China. I spent a lot of time in China pre-COVID, building my relationships with manufacturers. So we have basically handshake deal for a pretty substantial amount of product. So I'm basically can say, hey, send me $500,000 of product today, and they'll send it and they'll be like, okay, cool, pay me later. I'm like, what? Wow. How is this life? There's no contracts. There's just, it's just it's really, it's meetings over hot tea when it's 105 degrees out. I'm like, do you guys not have iced tea here? No, they don't. Sweating like crazy. But, so I think it's important that, as a business owner, you build your relationships, you meet your manufacturers. We have great relationships with American Express and then a couple other credit card companies. They call me and we do a lot of business with them. And really, I just use the credit cards for points. I'm a points junkie. So, I don't even use a debit card.
Yep.
I don't even think I have a debit card. Everything goes on credit cards to build up points. And,
Yep.
That's one of my favorite things is being an entrepreneur and, actually spending money. I was like, if I'm spending money, I'm going to get at least something back. And, most of my travel at this point personally is pretty much free, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, right. If you were to start up today with plenty of funding, would you go into your industry?
It's tough to say. I've never had funding for anything, any of my projects, any of my businesses. I'm just not the funding kind of guy. Like, I think to me personally, unless it was a huge project, it's not the route I would go. I kind of feel like it's the easy way out. You're giving up, some of your control, part of your business, which might be okay with some people. I'd really have to bring on a strategic funding partner, not just, oh, Mikey, here's money, make me money. I've never really wanted that. I'd rather put in a couple years of extra hard work just not to have to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm very different because a lot of people I talk to are all about funding. And really for me, I've never felt like funding was the route I wanted to take. But if it was a huge project that's going to, it's a development project and it's going to cost $20 million to build, it would be something technology based, I'm sure, just because the way you can scale that and grow that is, still to this day, those types of projects can really get going. They can fail really quick too, though. I mean, we've seen some things like that. They try to create that other Netflix. I can't even remember some weird name, and it was like $1 billion project or something. And they're like, oh, well, this didn't work. They even had Meg Whitman from eBay and other people. I can't remember the name of that platform, but gone. So it just because you have money doesn't mean it's going to work.
Yeah. Can you outline the most stressful point in your small business growth journey so our audience can learn from it?
Staffing, definitely 100%. And even to today, staffing is a really tough part of growing and scaling a business. You're going to find that, everybody has different backgrounds, different expectations. So when we first started growing our staff, we didn't have as many systems in place for hiring, firing, the onboarding process, the company workbook. So what we learned over time is to get really organized with that. So if you come into work for private label now, you go through like 3 or 4 interviews after taking online kind of interviews and such. I mean, it's really hard to get a job with us because we want to make sure we have a really kick-ass team. And what you don't want to do is have a whole group of hard workers, and then you get somebody in this group that is just like, oh, I just want to shop online while I'm here at work.
Like a B player or someone that's toxic. Yeah, you're
going to piss everybody off. And then it's going to create this whole problem within your workforce. So your first day when you work at private label, our office manager, Marianne, actually makes you read through the whole employee handbook. It takes about 2 hours. Right. So there is never a question of like, you can't say, oh, well, you didn't say that. Oh, no, you read it. And we add to that handbook over time. So just, I love my staff right now. I mean, we are such an amazing workforce. I always say we're like the Google of hair. Because we have such a great team. But, growing that team it's something that it's definitely not easy.
No. So as I like to say, I think people are the hardest thing in small business and where the value's at, 'cause you can't do it on your own.
Yeah, it's tough.
What area in business do you feel you've had to work on the most to add the greatest value?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think the part is really working and focusing on the client. And focusing on the client needs. We started with just kind of one portion of our business, and it's grown over the years. So we are heavily client focused and listen to their needs. kind of like the story, even the story we were talking about right beforehand, how, you asked about the return customers, like everyone wants to keep us a secret because, basically people come into our showroom, they purchase for, $150. They're selling it to their client for $300. We work directly with a lot of hairstylists, and they don't want to have the bag that has our logo on it.
Yeah.
But a lot of our brands and services have been built to help our clients succeed in business. Right now, I can give you an example. We have our dropship beauty app with Shopify, where it just plug and play right in Shopify. You can start selling hair extensions literally in minutes with our system. And it works great from the web, but I want to make it easier for our clients to be able to process orders on the go. So right now we're building out the mobile app that, the main focus of this mobile app is you can process your orders within a mobile app. So you don't have to use more of a web application. Did we have to do this? No, we didn't have to do it, but we're at the point where, if we can make a better experience and make it easier for our entrepreneurs, our client base that's selling, we're partnering together to sell these products. If we can make it just a little bit easier for them to process these orders easily and in a faster manner, we're going to invest the money in the technology to do so.
What have you enjoyed least about managing the fast growth?
It is, it's nonstop. It's a love-hate, right? So it is, I think I've only had one proper vacation since 2014, and that was in 2019. It was my birthday trip. It was finally one of those times because we love to travel, and I can work remotely. So when I do travel, everyone thinks I'm just like on vacation somewhere, and I'm like, oh no, the first half of the day I'll get up at 6 o'clock and I'm working till like 2, 3, 4 o'clock, and then spending the rest of the night, whatever city I'm in. But it's been a lot of hard work, and just being able to figure out that work-life balance has been a real challenge for me. During COVID, I basically threw it out the window. I think a real 100% day off, my last one was in September 2019. So it's just that work-life balance is tough, just because I've had a business that failed before, and I've been very broke before, and I'm not going back.
Yeah. It's a big driver, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
And what do you love most about growing a small business?
I think creating the opportunities for my staff. I push them really hard, and it's like the dial, and I always say, guys, we're going to keep turning this dial to see how fast we can do stuff. And the reason being is, when you come in to work for us, I don't want people to feel like they're at a dead end job. They're doing the same thing every day. So we're always creating new opportunities within the company for those that grow. I don't even want to hire someone that doesn't want to grow within the company and just say, oh, I'm just going to be a customer service rep for forever. That's all I care about. Like, really, it is to promote growth within and give opportunities to others so they can succeed. Because not everybody's an entrepreneur. Not everybody wants, to start their own business. And, it's not great for everybody. Honestly, it's not easy. So being able to give people that sense of entrepreneurship, though, within the business is something that's really rewarding. And I think they really appreciate that.
What's been the biggest mindset shift for you in your small business growth journey?
Always thinking bigger. I definitely went through a couple periods within the business where I was just like, this isn't possible. There's no way we can do this. And then I realized that I just need to take that thought, crumble it up, and throw it out the window. So at this point, I think I'm very much a different entrepreneur today than just a few years ago. And the way we think today is it's very strategic, and it's grow fast but cautiously, but really push the dial a little bit on that. So really, it's just understanding that the education has really helped our growth. So I really focus on education, learning from others, listening to podcasts like this. It's something I didn't do in my first business. Of course, they didn't have podcasts back in 2006.
Yeah.
So getting on, listening to podcasts, listening to other founders where you think that that you're doing impossible things, and you listen to someone else and you're like, wait, I got to listen to this. How the heck did they do that?
Yep.
And then you start to realize, like in your life and then in business, it's unbelievable how much more is available to you than you really think.
Yeah. What's the number one habit you think a small business owner needs to develop and maintain?
The number one habit is consistency. You have to be consistent day in, day out for your business. If you're not working on your business that day, you should have systems in place that keeps your business going for that day. If you're kind of like a solopreneur, make sure that if you're not posting on social media today or a few days, or you want to take a vacation of sorts, which, you're probably not going to be taking a vacation your first year. Make sure you use technology, like you have all your emails scheduled, you have all your social posts scheduled, just to make sure you're consistent. But not just in social and marketing. You have to be consistent in investing in the business, consistent in education, consistent in growing your staff, consistent in, like, as you continue to grow, consistent in finding that 1%. There's nothing that I can do today that I'm just going to be like, oh, we're going to flick this switch and the business is going to grow 50%. It's not. There are thousands of parts of my business that I know that if I make a 1% difference, it's going to make that little bit of difference in the business. And with compounding interest, these 1% changes are really going to add up. And then this is how I'm going to grow the business.
Yep. I love that quote from Benjamin Disraeli, the ex-UK Prime Minister. The secret to success is constancy of purpose.
There you go.
Find it hard to define a clear strategy, then communicate it and execute it alongside the rest of your team? Or you currently don't work a simple quarterly strategic plan to boost your team's performance? Our Business Growth Formula online course is perfect for small business owners with 5 to 30 team members wanting to grow. We share the mindsets, habits and tools to be a legendary leader in your business. growsmallbusiness.com.
And can you talk to how you've added people to the team, some wins, mistakes, and advice for those listening?
Yeah, we grew the staff a little too fast at one point, and I think that was a mistake. It was just too much. Yeah, we didn't know what we were doing. Honestly, we just like, oh, we're growing so fast. We just need to hire all these people, and everything's going to be okay. And it ended up not being okay. So I think definitely we're very much more strategic about how we hire our staff, how we train our staff, how they go through training. We've been learning, because now that we've been opening showrooms in different cities and figuring out what that's going to look like. So what we do now is, part of the hiring process is we say, hey, we're going to fly you down to Atlanta and you're going to work in our Atlanta showroom for 2 weeks before working in, or managing this store. And I think that makes all the difference in the world, because our Atlanta store is, you're thrown into the fire in Atlanta. It is packed every single day.
Mm-hmm.
So learning how to properly train the staff has made a huge difference in our business. So that way they have the expectations, they know what's going on, instead of just kind of being like, oh, let's just hire a lot of people and everyone's going to be busy. Like, it just doesn't work that way. You have to be really strategic and give people the roadmap so they can succeed in your business. It's so important.
What are some things you recommend to building a sustainable and kick-ass culture to help with the growth?
For us, it's we have a financial component to that. So we have a monthly bonus pool. So that really helps with keeping people motivated for the business to do well. We take a percentage of the sales and the growth, and we basically have a kickback for our staff. We have an absolutely amazing Christmas party that everyone talks about, even it's the week after the Christmas party, and like all year they're talking about what crazy things are we going to do for this Christmas party. A couple years ago, we had a big contest. Basically, we gave somebody, they won. It was a flight and hotel, a week's paid vacation, and we flew them from Atlanta to Barcelona, Spain. Had them totally set up. Yeah, so we try to do these things that, if you have a big prize or something that's really motivating, like, that's to me is life-changing, is taking a trip like that, having like a paid vacation. And we all love vacations, right? It gives someone something to look forward to throughout the year. We haven't honestly been able to do team building events or anything like that because of COVID this year. So that's been it's been a real struggle the past year. But we try to have like some team outings, that kind of stuff where we can do a little bit of team building outside of the office if people choose. I love buying lunch for people because these are things that when I worked for people, I always wish people did for me, no matter how hard. I mean, when I was an employee, I always acted like I was the owner of that company, whatever my position was. And these are the kind of things that I always wish the business owners did for me. So me as the business owner, I like to do these things for our staff. If someone's car was parked the block over, one of our staff members, and somebody hit their car. And I was just like, man, this really sucks. For me personally, if I slip the guy a little bit of money to help him with his deductible, I'll do those kind of things. It's really to take care of the staff.
Yes. Yeah. And tell our audience how you've handled balance.
What's balance?
There's a reason why it's an open question.
Yeah. Balance is, I think there's a sliding scale over time, how you have to balance out everything, because it's more than just your business. It's your personal life. It's the personal lives of your staff, making sure everybody's taken care of and how we can all work together. For me personally, I'm usually balanced towards being a little bit crazy, a little extreme with hard work and motivation, waiting to pay myself later in as many cases as possible. So the safety of the business. So, and then as far as growth goes, you had to find that balance, especially once you become more established, where you can still grow pretty quickly. But if you're at a safe place in your business, you need to do it very strategically, where you're just not like, oh, let me just open 10 stores today because that sounds good, and then the business fails. So, do things step by step quickly. And we've kind of perfected the process of opening a new showroom. Do things quickly and continue to learn. But, the balance of any part of a business is really tough.
Isn't it? Here's a great example. I think, especially of your dedication. Isn't it like 3:15 in the morning where you are right now?
Yeah, 3:17 a.m.
So is this the end of the day for you or the start of the day?
Oh no, I usually go to bed pretty early. I'm usually in bed by like 9, 10 o'clock. I usually get up pretty early, and this was the earliest slot that you had available. And I checked out your podcast. I was like, this thing's pretty good. And I was like, okay, I'm going to 2:30 a.m. Why not?
You do it. Plenty of coffee during the day, I assume.
Yeah, I like some coffee. I've actually been kind of perfecting my coffee drinking. I just got one of these. Have you ever seen those Ember mugs? It's a self-heating mug.
Right.
I don't know if they have it in Australia yet, but like basically it's this mug that like keeps it hot. So I'm kind of, because I do like usually 1 cup of coffee a day, I'm trying to perfect to get the greatest 1 cup that I can. Yeah. So I bought I don't really buy anything. I'm very much a minimalist, but I bought a $120 coffee mug that keeps the coffee warm, because I was like, I want warm coffee. So that's also one of the benefits of entrepreneurship, where you get to the point where you can buy a $120 coffee mug, not really worry about it. But, but that's also the part. It's very similar to business, where you're looking for those improvements in your personal life of something you like. How can I make that thing that I like a little bit better?
Yeah.
It's really important.
How much professional development have you invested in yourself over the years? Books, podcasts, conferences, courses, training?
I have. I am continuously learning. I am a huge fan of podcasts. I've taken some online courses, but for me, I'm pretty much self-taught everything. I have definitely some, and I talk about this in the book, definitely some undiagnosed learning disabilities. That's why I never did well in school. My teachers loved me, but I couldn't pass a test to save my life. Yeah. I couldn't finish reading a book. I never read a book in school. It wasn't until my 20s that I think I finished reading my first book. So podcast is something that I think is phenomenal. I'm trying to learn different languages. I used to be able to speak Thai conversationally, but now I'm trying to learn Mandarin Chinese, which is, it's a challenge.
Something like
So
50,000 characters, isn't there, in the Mandarin?
it is so tough.
Yeah.
And understanding and getting the basis of learning Thai has actually helped me, because Thai is a very tonal language, and learning Chinese is the same thing. So that's it's helped me. But I think if you're an entrepreneur or want to be an entrepreneur, you have to spend day in, day out, and just as simple as listening to podcasts. I find so many people listen to the same 7 songs on the radio every single day when they're spending the 30 minutes to work, 30 minutes home. I'm like, that's an hour opportunity to learn a different language, to listen to audiobook, to listen to a podcast. There is always time. Everyone talks about, oh, I have no time. I have not. Really look at what you're doing in a day. I'm sure you can find time.
Cut down
but
on
invest.
Netflix,
Investing in yourself as an entrepreneur is going to really help your growth in learning from other entrepreneurs. There's no better time than now to do so because of podcasts and interviews like this. And it's really an incredible time. There's really no excuse at this point.
Have you had mentors or coaches along the way?
I hired a coach back in 2018. I actually took a very, I don't know if you're into the tech world, and like SEO and marketing. There's a guy, Neil Patel, who's a pretty popular guy.
Yeah, he's awesome, Neil. Yeah.
Yeah. So I took one of Neil's courses, advanced marketing course, back in 2017. And we were still pretty broke back in 2017. It was like a $1,200-$1,500 course. And I was like, oh my God, I'm spending $1,000 on a course. Like, I don't even know if I can afford this, but it was pretty eye-opening. That helped us. I feel like it helped give me the mindset and some of the ideas and concepts to triple our business. And then I worked with someone from his team, I think it was his chief marketing officer. So I consulted with them for 6 months, one-on-one. And some of the things they asked for, I thought literally was impossible. And then I just broke it down into numbers, which I like basic numbers and math. And I was just like, okay, he's like, how's blogging going this month? And I was like, oh my God, you're not going to believe this. We publish 20 blog posts in a month. Like, that's incredible. He's like, oh, it's okay. And I'm like, okay. And I was like, well, if I want to be the #1 hair business in America, how many blog posts do I need to publish this month?
Yeah.
And he's like, 100. And I'm like, okay. I was like, no, 100's impossible.
Yeah.
And then fast forward a couple months, I had a content team of 30 writers. I had a full-time editor, and 8 months straight, we published 100 blog posts till we ran out of things to talk about, which generated millions and millions of visitors over time. But that's really it. I feel like for me, the route that's always been best for me is kind of the experience. I love testing different things. Unfortunately, we're in a place now where we have money saved. So if we do some sort of marketing experiment that costs a certain amount of money, some of the things that people bring to me, they're like, oh, we got to do this. And I'm like, I'm thinking this is a horrible idea. But, with marketing is like, you just never know. Yep. And some of those horrible ideas worked out really, really well. And I'm just like, oh, okay, this was actually pretty good. So, you can't put a dollar value on experience. I tell you. So, if you're just starting out, it's just keep going, because this is the experience, and the failures you make today, that's the only way you're going to learn how to grow.
Do you have a board of directors or advisors?
No, not yet.
Yep.
I have key people that I reach out to that I trust, to talk about certain things, to get feedback and such. But I don't think we're at the point yet. And I could be wrong. I just might be naive. I don't know. I'm probably going to find out when I get to that point. I'm like, why didn't I do this, a long time ago? I don't know. But that's just part of growth as an entrepreneur.
Right, Mike, on to our final 5 questions. What do you think is the hardest thing in growing a small business?
I think the hardest thing is, for most people, is just the consistent part, because of the amount of hard work that has to go into that consistency. If you disappear for a couple weeks, your client base is going to know.
Yeah.
So you have to, if you personally can't be consistent, make sure you build a team that can be consistent when you're not. And you have to make sure from kind of like an outside point of view. So, the faster you can take yourself outside, out of the business, out of that day to day, to kind of have like an overview. But I really think the consistency part is really tough, because you need to, at this point, I've been pretty consistent day in, day out for 8 years straight. And when most people think 8 years straight, that's impossible. It's not impossible. That's what business owners do. It's definitely not easy.
Favorite business book, which has helped you the most?
Man, this is like a classic one now, because it's been a while. The 4-Hour Work Week.
Yep.
I really don't believe in the working 4 hours or whatever. But that wasn't really the real purpose of the book, right? The real purpose of the book. And I remember I was on my first kind of trip from my first business. I was in Bangkok reading that book. I'll never forget it, on this beautiful rooftop. It really made me.
Great rooftop bars there in Bangkok, haven't they?
Oh yeah, my God, yeah. It made me realize, one of the toughest things as a new entrepreneur is letting go of some of your responsibilities and tasks. It's really hard. You want to do everything, because you learn that nobody is going to be as passionate about it as you. Now, you are going to start hiring people that are definitely better at certain things than you, which is really important. And those are the people you want to put in place. So the 4-Hour Work Week really kind of opened me up to allowing other people to come into my business, instead of just being like a solopreneur. Understanding that I need a full team, and I need to outsource where I can. I need to do this, that, and the other to really get the business going. So that really opened my mind to doing so.
Any great podcasts or online learning tools you use for your own professional development?
I really focus on, for different technologies, I focus on the free learning that that technology. Let's say it's an email marketing program like Klaviyo, I'll go through all their tutorials and everything else. And then I'll start looking for something more advanced. I use the old YouTube University, obviously, trying to find the right people where it's just not like affiliate videos and stuff like that. And then, I have a whole list of podcasts that I probably just start skipping through. And I'm the kind of person that will just kind of binge a bunch. Masters of Scale, I think, was the last one. I was just kind of going through a lot of those. How This Was Built is another classic one. So I'll start going through these podcasts, and I'll go episode. Usually if it's a long drive, something like that. But the podcasts are just so important. I think listening to other founders and listening to their stories and getting ideas and understanding like you're not alone in this journey. And hearing the voice is just, I think it's so amazing where podcasts have come over the last 10 years. I mean, podcasting is still so new. So it's grown significantly, obviously, over the last couple of years, but it's just been, there's so much information out there. So I think you have to find the information that resonates best with you and allows you to learn the best for the way you learn.
One tool you'd recommend to help grow a small business?
One tool, I would probably say Facebook, Instagram ads, becoming an absolute beast at Facebook, Instagram advertising. It can make such a big difference. Having a real high level of understanding, being really creative in understanding what the Facebook pixel does, and being unique within your advertising campaigns, and the very strategic ways that you can do different ad campaigns can be incredibly rewarding. It's one of the greatest things we ever did was some really good ad campaigns that the ROI is just, I work directly with Facebook, they call me and we have these calls and they look at it. They're like, Mike, I have no idea how you do some of this. I was like, I just come up with these ideas because I think this is so cool. I think as like, if I'm just scrolling on Facebook, I need to see something that's going to stop the scroll. So you create that type of experience within their platform. I think it's absolutely incredible.
Final and my favorite question. What would you tell yourself on day one of starting out?
Day one, I would say focus on education more. Um, when I first started my first business back in 2006, there weren't as many resources as there are today. I definitely would focus on the education, reaching out to other entrepreneurs, maybe join an entrepreneur community, having people by your side, because your family and friends that are not entrepreneurs, they're not going to know what you're going through. And I think it's so important to have the key, key people that understand you. Actually, one of my favorite parts of my entire book is my girlfriend of 10 years next week. We had her write a couple pages about what it's like to date an entrepreneur and be in a relationship with an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And it is something so unique that you definitely don't think about. And it's a really powerful couple pages of Fearless Beauty. It talks about that, because not everybody's going to understand what it takes. And, for her, she was always just looking for that sense of security. Yeah. And she was definitely with the wrong guy, because, here I am. I'm like, she's like, how's business? I was like, I don't know. It could fail tomorrow. That's not really the answer they're looking for, but that's reality. Right. So, but you just have to keep going. I mean, that's just part of the game. So, you don't want that 9 to 5. You got to live with what comes with that. So, but if you educate yourself and understand like the failures and everything else are just part of your education, and just keep that as like your learning process and understand that, even though some of them are very painful, understanding that going into it is absolutely key.
Yeah. Great. Fantastic, Mikey. Thank you so much for your time today and sharing your journey with the audience and myself. So 7 years now, doing over 8 figures, over 10 million a year US dollars top line is phenomenal. Congratulations to you and the team and your silent business partner too.
Yeah, thank you so much.
That's it. Thanks for listening. Please leave a review in iTunes or whatever platform you listen to us on. It means more small business owners will find our cast and help people with their business growth journey.